Hello and welcome to Montecito After Sunset. My name is Christy, and today we are breaking down episode 7 of this fabulous audio soap opera, With No Due Respect. Joining me now is the creator and executive producer of Montecito, Grant Rudder. Hello, Grant. Always good to see you.
Hi, Christy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And we are also so happy to have joining us today a Daytime Emmy Award winner and very beloved soap opera star, writer, and producer. She is the creator of Venice, the series, and of course, the matriarch of Montecito as the voice of Helena Granville-Belasco. Welcome to the show, Crystal Chappell.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to meet you.
You too. We are so happy to put a face to the voice. Of course, Helena is sort of the driving force, it seems, of Montecito since episode 1. So happy to break it down a little bit with you. So let's jump into this big episode. This is the one where we hear from everyone in the cast. We get a lot of Helena every week, and we love that. And we get to see how she's interacting with everyone else this week. We have that Granville family dysfunctional brunch. I really enjoyed this one, Crystal and Grant, because we got a lot of juicy backstory here. So as a listener, it was like, oh. I listened twice because I had to get all the good stuff.
We see that they are the type of family that makes a lot of comments. They're those kind of people that, just jibs and jabs, and, it's not really a warm and cozy family. Even though Helena is trying to be this gracious grandmother with the pancakes and, talking with her grandchild, and it's just not the reality.
Well, Crystal, when you look at a script for a scene like this, do you look for something that you can relate to in the character or the family, or how would you approach this?
Well, sadly, I think a lot of families are like this, where you really don't say what's on your mind. It's usually over pancakes or, it comes out in different ways, typical family stuff. Really, it's just sort of heightened and dressed up a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well, and jumping into a scene like this, you're used to being on set with full wardrobe and a crew, a lot of expectation. And in this one, I imagine it's just you at home or in a booth somewhere. How do you kind of get into character?
I think the thing that I had to figure out was not to rely too heavily on my script, like to really kind of be off as much as possible, but just to have it as a reference, because you need to know where you're going with the character. And then once you get in with the other actors and you start bouncing off each other, it just sort of, and Grant knows what he wants, his team knows what they want. So we just kind of got this really in the moment direction of, this is the structure of the scene, this is the structure of the show. And yeah, I mean, everyone was just sort of banging off of each other. It was really awesome.
Crystal, I'm curious. I have a question for you. As an actress, not having the movement of, knowing where the camera moving, crossing through the set, does that impact anything? Does that make a difference for you?
That's really a good question. Sometimes the moves working in daytime don't help. They just need movement for the sake of movement, which makes sense, right? But no, it was all coming from inside. I didn't feel the need to move. It was all right there in the voice and the feelings, right? So, but that's
it
a really
certainly plays that way.
Well, and Helena has such deep relationships, of course, with everyone on the show, since a lot of them are family. And she's the one who kind of points out that Deacon and Diego are not very different from each other, right? They're really more similar than different. And Grant, when you were writing this scene and kind of what was important to get across about the relationships?
Well, in this family, the daddy issues run deep, and this was them on display. For the first time, we see the 3 generations and the fractured relationships. I really wanted to show more than anything. Well, there's a lot of things I want to show, but really Bradley and how he just does not connect at all with Deacon. There's no real respect there. He doesn't get him. Like, it's just there's also a lack of empathy from Bradley. And then this the opposite with Helena, who's almost too involved, really rooting for her son, and that's his support. But Diego, he doesn't really connect with any of these people because it's all about his mother and that bond, and some call it a trauma bond or whatever. But we have to remember that Diego's raised by a narcissist, so that's a whole other layer to, as you are as a kid and how you view the world and your parents and your family. And obviously, Mina is not speaking up the Granville family to her son very well. You know what I mean? Like, so she's not connected to these people, unfortunately, but it's not for lack of trying.
Well, and everything came together in the episode as well as we see kind of two dysfunctional families, two different scenes, but they're really playing off of each other. What was the objective when you were writing this episode, Grant? Where were you looking to take the story, or what message were you trying to get across to the audience?
Well, it's interesting you ask that because these later episodes, originally I wanted to do 12 and I had mapped out 12, and then 12 felt too much. It felt too indulgent. It felt unnecessary. It felt like we were kind of like looking for to kind of have a little padding. And I wanted all these scenes to really count and matter. So the episode 7, which we're discussing here, really was the first one where it was like, okay, like how are we going to crunch in what we want for like the what needs to happen? Who do we need to see interact? So we had to see the Granville family interact. We had to have that scene, which I want to get into with Vincent and Crystal, Helena and Bradley, with the hedge. We had to see one more time of Bethany Gina really trying to make her point to Mina, like, hey, can you please stop feeding my brother alcohol? She has to ask the question, like now she knows the influence that Mina has over him. She's been learning this. So now this is her trying to have an adult conversation, which we know does not go anywhere and never will. That was really the idea of this episode, was to get us to this breaking point, which is coming up. We only have 3 episodes left and everything's going to really, really take off. It's really about, okay, now we've set everything where it needs to be to blow it up. That's the idea.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned Helena and Bradley's dynamic. Of course, that is an overarching theme throughout the show. What was important about this scene, or what was it that you wanted to get across, you said?
Well, their marriage. This is just the two of them. Their one-on-one scene. They're having this discussion, and it goes back to Deacon. Of course, there's always these family dynamics. It's always the people in the family that are creating the trouble, and that's how Bradley views it. He calls Mina a fox in front of his wife.
Yeah.
So he's showing, kind of a different side to Bradley versus how we met him as a, corporate, chairman of the board. But yeah, I wanted Bradley to be problematic. I wanted to show that these two have their own 3-dimensional marriage, and Helena really, really is loyal to this man. She views this as her soulmate, and she's had to put up with a lot to keep him in her life and to keep this marriage together. They we'll find out that they've been married twice and they've got their problems, but it's all about Deacon, really, and Mina. Yeah.
Well, it is. And so, Crystal, what are your thoughts on Helena's position kind of at this point? Did this scene stand out to you as something where she needed to really be a certain way? Or have there been other scenes on the show that really stand out in your mind that were pivotal in recording, or that seemed really important to you?
I think what's meaningful in this scene is that you see these two really talking about their relationship, why Bradley would talk about Mina in the way that he does. And, whatever this connect, why does he defend her so much? What is going on? She knows something's there and she probably knows what it is, but there's a reason why she married him a second time. She wants this thing to work. Doesn't matter how dysfunctional it might be. That's just what she wants. Why? I don't know. But Grant can answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's her man. That's her soulmate. She's been through hell in her life, and she's had her health issues in the
Right.
past, and it's all about our own personal kind of control of what we want. And she wants her family to stick together, and that's her cross for sure. I wish we had time for more scenes between the two of them, because there's so much backstory that's in this head and in notes for these two characters, for Bradley and Helena. So to have, and we'll have more scenes with them in the next episode in 8, I wanted to get so much deeper with them. So there's so much to unpack still. So I'm hoping that we can get deeper into their dynamic, because there's just a lot there.
Crystal, when you're thinking about developing a character, are you filling in any blanks that aren't there yet in the story? Or are you putting a little bit of yourself into Helena, or what you think Helena should be?
I think it's sometimes better not to know everything in the backstory because things can change. There's that.
Right.
But I think, for me, I just look at the character on the page and go, well, what's driving this person? And I think there are a lot of women out there who stick it out for whatever their reasons. It's not always healthy, but that's a part of the dysfunction and the dynamic of family sometimes. I just try to live the character's life. And then I learned a long time ago to walk away from fictional dysfunction. But
I
now
bet. Yeah.
I
Knowing the stories you've
like
played,
that.
Crystal, I can imagine.
It's fun being in it. I mean, that's the thing. There's a reason why I do it. It's because it's so much fun, just to be somebody else. But no, I just sort of do my thing and I figure I'll get corrections or direction or something if I'm way off.
Yeah, well, and you've played a ton of memorable characters. How do you feel like Helena holds up? Do you enjoy being Helena, or how do you feel when you compare her to some of your other characters?
Well, I've reached that age where I get to play these kind of matriarchs. For a long time, it was, leading lady kind of stuff. It's fun being a little older and a little wiser and being able to kind of grasp a role like this. So I appreciate it. It's like I can imagine what she looks like. I can imagine what she's been through. And I think just as a woman, being matriarch of my own family, you do try to keep it all together. And it's the day to day. And women are amazing and what they're capable of doing, quite frankly. Let me just give a shout out to women out there. But yeah, Helena has got a lot on her plate and she's doing the best she can to keep it together and make it seem normal, I guess. Let's pretend all this is normal.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I really do view, like, as a writer, I view Helena as a leading lady, as a main, like, I don't view her as the mother or the grandmother or, voice of reason or, the talk to. A lot of these older characters, they just become into talk tos and they don't have any life of their own on screen. And that's not what I want to do. Everyone has their own life and their own experiences. And I just don't want anyone to just be a chat to. So there's so much depth that can still come from Helena.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Crystal, you are a very busy woman. I'm wondering what's the latest with Venice, the series, and what else are you working on? You're always up to a lot of good stuff.
I'm not a good idle person, is what I tell people. It's better that I stay busy for the sake of all mankind. Just stay busy. Venice season 7, we released that at the end of February, and I'm working on a special edition of Venice.
Oh, cool.
It's a little project that I have going, but I'm writing a pilot right now, which has been interesting. These are new characters for me, and so I'm rewriting a lot. And yeah, I mean, I've been working with a team at Warner Brothers, and they've just trying to learn as I go. It's daunting and it's time consuming because it started 22 July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
believe it.
it's just daunting. But I understand better now why things take so long to develop. But no, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, and my son's graduating and he's headed to Santa Cruz in the fall. So we're moving him up this summer and we're officially empty nesters and
Wow.
I'm headed to Portugal in October. I mean, we're just kind of like going to go explore.
That's
Good for
so
you.
cool. Yeah, well, and it's kind of a struggle for everybody. Creating content out there now is the thing, and everybody in old school TV land too.
Right.
It really is a struggle. How do you keep it going? How do you stay inspired? How do you drudge through those times when you're just rewriting and it gets daunting? How do you keep it going?
Tell me.
I wish I liked smoking weed. I don't. I am so paranoid. But there's a part of me that's like, oh, I really wish. You know what? It's just discipline. I've had to give myself hours of operation. I just basically have to sit in front of my computer and type something. Or I take notes, or I mean, I really but I make myself do it. And then sometimes one line might come out that's like, oh, that was a good day.
Yes. Small
Yeah.
wins, right?
Little small things, but it's just, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah.
I find the best way for me to create dialogue is in the shower. These
really?
lines come to me.
Wow.
Yes, these lines and these arguments come to me, and
Like
there's
word
something about that.
drawing on
Yeah.
the little marker.
They say there's some natural thing about showering. I don't know about being with water or whatever, but they say that it brings creativity out. I don't know, but it works for me.
Well, I'm going to
I
try.
like that.
It's not weird.
We'll have to try that one. What can we look forward to on the next episode of Montecito?
Oh, well, I mentioned that in episode 8, there's another discussion with Helena and Bradley, and I want people to pay close attention to that one. And what else is happening? Just we're back in the boardroom, and we're seeing now. We mentioned this Santa Barbara Wharf Revitalization Project, and so now with both teams, so you're going to have the the Regalton team, JJ and Bethany Gina, and then you're going to have Deacon over here, as kind of the newbie in the space, both pitching the commission. No, so we're not sitting through meetings at the episode, but it's very carefully shown, and it's, there's a little bit of a result there. So we're seeing a little bit of the business side, and of course that crosses over to a lot of personal elements as well.
That's awesome. Well, we will absolutely be listening, and we go back and watch season 7 of Venice the series again. Crystal, where else can everybody keep up with you and check you out?
I am on X at CRY Sabatino. And then everywhere else, it's Crystal Chappell, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Open Book Productions, or Venice the series.
All right. And Grant, if people have guesses about where Montecito is going to and they want to get spoilers, where can they reach out to you at?
Honestly, just comment on the YouTube channel, because all engagement is good engagement.
That's right. And I have one big guess that I'm going to be chatting with everybody about online. So make sure to hit us up over there. And you guys can submit your questions for Montecito After Dark as well. Hit us up on the Facebook page at Montecito Series, or leave a comment here, like Grant said, on YouTube. And make sure that you are subscribed so that you never miss a brand new episode of Montecito. Thank you, Crystal, so much for hanging out with us. It was really fun.
Thank you.
Love this. And Grant, we'll see you again soon. Thank you all for watching another episode of Montecito After Sunset.